"You should really focus on yourself, Dennis. I just don't think I can carry you anymore." That was the sentence Sarah said to me 3 days before our engagement party, at the cafe where I first told her I loved her. Same corner table, same coffee order, but this time, there was no warmth in her voice, only exhaustion dressed up as superiority. I stared at her, my fiancée, the woman I'd supported through 2 career switches, 3 failed startup ideas, and 1 nervous breakdown that she insisted never happened. "You think I'm a burden?" I asked calmly. "I think you're stuck," she replied, "and I can't let you drag me down with you." She stirred her iced vanilla latte like she hadn't just crushed 5 years of our relationship with a straw. I looked past her and noticed Brendan leaning against the cafe's glass door, pretending to be on his phone. He looked up just long enough to make eye contact with me. Then he smirked. Sarah saw me notice. She didn't bother denying it. "He listens," she said. "You don't." I took a slow breath, reached for the small velvet box in my pocket, the one I'd planned to open this weekend in front of our friends and families. I set it on the table. I didn't open it. I didn't say anything. I just stood, nodded, and walked out. That night, I didn't go home. I went to the rooftop of the building where Anne worked late shifts. She'd always been the person who saw through my silence. Anne didn't ask questions. She just sat next to me, handed me a cheap can of beer from her bag, and waited. She said I should focus on myself, I finally muttered. "Then maybe it's time you do," Anne replied. "Start by focusing on who you're not." Meaning? You're not the man she thinks you are. You're not weak. You're not confused. You're not background noise to her ambition. You're Dennis, the guy who taught me to drive stick shift on a hill in the rain. The guy who helped his mom pay off her mortgage at 23. The guy who lets everyone else shine but forgets to shine for himself. I chuckled bitterly. "You make me sound heroic." "No, I make you sound like you." I didn't respond. I just leaned back against the rooftop wall and stared up at the sky. There were no stars, only the faint glow of the city. The next morning, I packed everything that reminded me of Sarah into a single box: photos, mugs, cards, even the watch she gave me engraved with "Forever Starts Now." I dropped it outside her door and walked away. By noon, I had booked a ticket to Tokyo, a city I once dreamed of seeing but always postponed for her deadlines, her vacations, her rules. Brendan texted me that evening. "Brendan. Leaving her like that? Cold, man." Me. "I thought she wanted me to focus on myself." Brendan. "Guess she didn't think you actually would." Neither did she, because the next day, she showed up at my apartment. "You're being dramatic," she snapped. "Running away, that's immature." "No," I said. "Staying in a one-sided engagement would be immature. I'm not punishing you, Sarah. I'm just freeing both of us." She scoffed. "And what? You think disappearing to Tokyo makes you some kind of philosopher?" "No, it just makes me someone who listened." She didn't cry, she didn't beg, she didn't even look angry, just surprised. Like she had spent so long believing I'd always stay, she never imagined I could walk. I left the next morning. Anne drove me to the airport. "You look lighter," she said as we stood by the departure gate. "I feel unfinished," I admitted. "Then finish becoming who you were meant to be." "Will you be here when I get back?" "I've always been here. You just never noticed." I turned, paused, and hugged her tightly. She didn't pull away. On the plane, I watched clouds rise like mountains beneath us. I thought about Sarah, about all the times I tried to be enough, and all the ways she measured me against people I never agreed to compete with. Then I thought about myself. Not who I was with her, but who I might finally become without her. When the plane touched down, I didn't feel like a different man, not yet, but I felt like a man who was finally facing the right direction. I turned on my phone. There were no messages from Sarah, only one from Anne. "Anne, now focus on yourself, for real this time," and for the first time in years, I was ready to. Before Sarah, I was just Dennis Lee, quiet, meticulous, a little too responsible for someone in their 20s. People used to say I had an old soul, code for boring. I didn't mind. I was never interested in chasing noise. I believed in purpose, not popularity. I built systems. I followed through. I kept my promises. Sarah, on the other hand, was a fire that refused to burn out. The The first time I saw her, she was standing on top of a table in our university courtyard, shouting about gender roles in corporate hiring. A few students clapped, most just walked past. I stood still, watching her. She wasn't asking for approval, she was demanding to be seen. She noticed me too, or maybe she noticed I was the only one not scrolling through a phone. Either way, when she hopped down, she walked straight toward me and said, "You're either judging me, or you're curious. Which is it?" "Curious," I said honestly. "Good," she replied. "Judgment is for cowards." That was our beginning. No soft flirting, no quiet build-up, just confrontation wrapped in charm. Sarah was majoring in marketing. I was studying systems engineering. We shared one elective, behavioral economics. He sat in the back, always late, always loud. I sat in the front, always early, always silent. We only spoke during group assignments at first, then during lunch, then after lectures. I wasn't her type. She said that often, with a teasing smile. "You're too clean, Dennis, too controlled. And you're allergic to stability," I'd say back. We didn't make sense, but we made each other's lives more interesting. When we officially started dating, people were surprised. Some said she'd chew me up, others said I'd tame her. Neither prediction was correct. What happened was much simpler. I adjusted. I started showing up late to things, stopped color-coding my calendar, took spontaneous road trips, let go of routines. She called it living, I called it trying not to lose her. We moved in together 6 months after graduation. She was chasing a marketing role at a major firm. I was offered a contract at a data company with long hours and good pay. Our apartment was small, but it was full of life. Her plants kept dying, my books kept growing. She'd dance in the kitchen, I'd clean in silence. It worked, until it didn't. The cracks started with her frustration over my job. "You work too much," she'd complain. "You're always drained." "I'm building something," I'd tell her. "For us. Maybe I don't want to be built for. Maybe I just want you present." She started going out more, networking events, dinners, weekend trips with colleagues. Brendan showed up around that time. At first, just stories, then photos, then sudden silences when I entered the room. I didn't accuse her. I didn't need to. I knew. But I also remembered the girl standing on the table yelling about injustice, the girl who kissed me in the rain because she was bored and curious. I remembered her, and I tried to hold on. So I adjusted again. I left work earlier, started cooking, bought tickets to plays she liked, asked about her day more, laughed at Brendan's name like it didn't sting. She didn't respond with warmth, she responded with distance. "You're trying too hard," she said one night while scrolling through her phone in bed. "It's not natural anymore." "What isn't?" I asked. "This, us." I stared at the ceiling that night, wondering how something I nurtured with patience could rot without notice. Anne once told me, when someone leaves you, they often left you emotionally long before they packed their bags. At the time, I thought she was being cynical. Now I realized she was just being honest. Anne had always been in my life. We met in high school, bonded over a group project neither of us cared about. She was the type of friend who didn't need daily updates. We could go months without speaking and pick up like no time passed. She saw me through breakups, career confusion, even the year I nearly burned out trying to launch a failed app. When I told her about Sarah for the first time, she didn't smile, she didn't frown either. She just said, "Be careful with people who only shine when you're dim." I didn't understand then. I do now. Sarah thrived when I shrank. When I skipped my workouts so she could vent about her job, when I cancelled plans to proofread her pitch decks, when I let her interrupt and speak over me in front of friends. I thought it was compromise, I thought it was love. Anne was the only one who noticed. "Are you still you, Dennis?" she asked one night over takeout, when Sarah had disappeared for 3 days on a last-minute retreat with her team. "Of course," I said, without thinking. She raised an eyebrow. "You're wearing gray, you hate gray." "I don't hate it." "You used to." I looked down at my hoodie. It was hers. I'd put it on by accident. Sarah had become a lifestyle, one I didn't remember choosing. We weren't a team anymore, we were a transaction. I gave. She received, I explained. She countered. I asked for time. She gave me pity. The night she told me to focus on myself, I realized she wasn't offering advice, she was issuing a final statement. She had already replaced me in her mind. Brendan just made it easier. Still, even in that moment, part of me wanted to ask, can we fix this? But that part of me was tired. And tired people don't beg. They pack. That's what I did. I left the apartment the next day. I didn't slam doors. I didn't leave notes. I just took my clothes, my laptop, the few books that mattered, and a photo of my mother that Sarah never bothered to frame. I moved into a small loft near my office. No decorations, just space. Anne was the first person to visit. "You look like a man finally breathing," she said, setting down a grocery bag. "I feel like one too." She cooked, I cleaned. We didn't talk much. We didn't need to. Before she left, she handed me a list. Therapists, mentors, books, flights, choose one. Do something that's yours. I didn't choose that night. I just stared at the list, letting her words settle. 2 days later, Sarah texted. "Sarah. Are you okay?" Me. "I'm not yours to worry about anymore." Sarah. "Don't be like that." Me. "You told me to focus on myself. I'm finally doing it." No reply. And just like that, I realized I was done introducing myself through her lens. I was Dennis Lee, still quiet, still meticulous, but no longer hers to carry, or crush. The betrayal didn't happen in a single moment. It happened in patterns, subtle shifts in tone, long pauses before replies, the growing presence of Brendan's name in our conversations. Sarah would say things like, "Brendan thinks I could lead the campaign better than Michelle," or, "Brendan said he's never seen anyone network like me." At first, I smiled, I supported, I even asked follow-up questions, but as the months passed, Brendan transformed from a colleague into an invisible shadow standing between us. One evening, Sarah came home late from a so-called team dinner. Her lipstick was faded and her heels dangled from her fingers. I was sitting on the couch with 2 bowls of ramen growing cold. "You're home early," she said. "It's past midnight," I replied. She shrugged. "Time flies when you're actually enjoying yourself." That was the first time she didn't apologize for being late, the first time I didn't press her about it. Because deep down, I already knew. The next day, I noticed something on our shared calendar, a 2-day business retreat, Brendan's name in parentheses. She hadn't told me about it. I didn't ask. I just removed the dinner reservation I had made for our anniversary. When she returned, she acted like nothing happened, as if I should be grateful she even came back. We were sitting at breakfast when I asked, "Did you enjoy your retreat?" She froze mid-sip of her coffee. "Why?" "Just wondering if Brendan booked a good resort." Her eyes narrowed. "Are you spying on me now?" "It was on the calendar, Sarah." She set the mug down too hard. "Why does it matter? You've been emotionally checked out for months." That was the shift. Suddenly, I was the problem. Suddenly, it was my distance, my silence, my focus that justified hers. I looked at her and asked the question that had been sitting in my chest like a stone. "Are you sleeping with him?" Sarah didn't flinch, she didn't gasp, she didn't deny it. She just asked, "What would you do if I said yes?" "I'd leave." "Then leave," she said flatly, "because honestly, Dennis, I don't remember the last time you really looked at me." That was the moment the dam broke. I stood, walked to the closet, pulled out the small carry-on I used for work trips and began packing. "You're seriously walking away right now?" she shouted. "You told me to focus on myself," I said without turning around. "I'm finally listening." She didn't try to stop me, she didn't even follow me to the door. But the moment it clicked shut behind me, I heard her sob, not loud, just one broken sound, like the first crack in glass before it shatters. I didn't go far. I stayed at Anne's place that night, even though she offered me the couch and I chose the floor. I didn't want comfort, I wanted quiet. Anne didn't ask for details, she just set a pillow beside me and said, "Let it out when you're ready." But I didn't cry. I couldn't. The next morning, Sarah called, then again, then 3 more times. I didn't answer. By the end of the day, she messaged, "Sarah, so that's it?" Me, "That was your decision." Sarah, "I didn't say I slept with him." Me, "You didn't say you didn't." She stopped replying after that. Anne and I sat on the balcony that night, watching the sky turn purple. "You okay?" she asked. "I don't know," I said. I think I'm still waiting for her to prove me wrong. And what if she never does? Then I have to be okay anyway. Anne nodded. She always needed an audience. You just finally stopped clapping. I thought that would be the end of it, but betrayal doesn't end in silence. It echoes. 2 days later, my colleague forwarded me a video clip. It was Sarah, at a private party, drinking, laughing. Brendan beside her, hand on her waist. At one point, someone in the background shouted, "So is it official?" Sarah leaned into Brendan, smirked, and said, "I'm done being someone's lesson plan. I want to be the priority." Brendan kissed her cheek. I didn't watch the rest. I deleted the video, but the audio stayed. That line, "I want to be the priority." That's the thing about giving someone everything. They get used to it. They confuse consistency for complacency. Sarah wanted chaos disguised as passion. She wanted to be chased, and I was tired of running in circles. She kept redrawing. That night, I emailed the landlord to remove my name from the lease. I told HR to redirect my mail. I moved into a serviced apartment close to work, started running every morning again, and reactivated my Japanese lessons. Anne showed up once a week with groceries and sarcasm. "You're becoming a cliché," she said, unloading fruit. "Post-breakup glow-up." I smiled. "Is it working?" "You still wear too much navy, but sure." Brendan messaged me a week later. Brendan. "Didn't mean for it to happen like that. Wasn't planned." Me. "You don't owe me an apology, just be better than me." Brendan. "I can't promise that." Neither could I. Sarah didn't message me again, but her silence spoke loudly. One evening, Anne and I were watching a movie when she paused it and said, "Do you ever miss her?" "Yes," I said, "but I miss the version of her that wanted to build something with me. Not the one who needed me to lose myself so she could shine brighter." "You think she loved you?" "I think she loved the version of me that asked for nothing." Anne didn't respond, but she placed her hand near mine on the couch, not touching, just close enough to remind me I wasn't alone. I glanced at her. "You think I was too soft?" "I think you were too quiet, too willing to hurt alone so she wouldn't feel discomfort. That's not soft. That's survival." Sarah didn't break me, but she did force me to meet the version of myself that waited too long to speak up. That was the real betrayal. Not that she drifted, not that she chose Brendan. But I stayed quiet while she did it. That I let her rewrite the rules without ever signing the new contract. It would have been easier to hate her, but I didn't. Because hate still meant giving her space in my mind. And I was finally focusing on someone else. Me. I thought leaving Sarah would bring me peace. Instead, I woke up every morning like I'd been shoved out of a dream I wasn't ready to leave. The kind where you're standing at a crossroads and you already chose, but your heart is still sprinting toward the path you didn't take. The serviced apartment was quiet, too quiet. No Spotify playlist playing from the bathroom while she applied mascara, no scent of her favorite overpriced candle, no leftover hair ties on the table, just stillness. At first, I told myself this was the clean slate I needed. I filled my calendar with back-to-back meetings, projects, workouts. I restructured 2 workflows at the firm in 4 days. Everyone thought I was thriving, but I wasn't thriving. I was distracting myself. Because in between the silence, I kept hearing her voice. "You should really focus on yourself." It was meant to sound wise, mature, like a gift of self-discovery, but really, it was a farewell disguised as empowerment. Every time I scrolled through social media, I braced myself. I unfollowed her, muted Brendan, even archived our old photos. Still, people tagged her, her laughter still echoed in clips, her name still floated in captions. "Look at Sarah kill it at the summit. Marketing queen with Brendan behind the lens. Power couple alert." Power couple. The irony of it made me sick. I wasn't jealous of Brendan. I was angry at myself for making it so easy for someone else to step into the life I built. Anne saw through me quicker than I expected. "You're holding in grief like it's a debt you're ashamed to pay," she said one night over ramen. "Maybe I am," I admitted. "Maybe I thought walking away meant I wasn't allowed to feel this anymore." Walking away doesn't mean you stop bleeding, Dennis. It just means you stop letting someone else twist the knife. I didn't respond. I couldn't. Every corner of my day had reminders of her. The way I folded towels, her system, the songs I avoided, her favorites, even my passwords were still based on her birthday. Some nights, I'd open our old chat and hover over the messages, not to reread them, just to stare. Like some part of me still wanted proof we die. Stead. But the proof didn't matter, because the present didn't care. One week, I tried dating apps. Swiping was mindless, empty. Every bio felt like a sales pitch. Every smile felt staged. I went on one date. She was kind, beautiful, funny, but when she laughed at something I said, I almost whispered Sarah's name. I didn't go on another. Anne didn't judge, but she noticed. Still stuck? Still moving, I replied, just in slow motion. You ever think maybe you don't have to rush this? I'm afraid if I sit with it too long, I'll spiral. She nodded. Then don't spiral, just lean. On what? On me if you want. That night, I didn't go back to my apartment. I stayed at Anne's, not on the couch, not on the floor, on the bed, beside her. Nothing happened. We didn't cross any lines. We just slept, quietly, peacefully. For the first time in weeks, I didn't dream about Sarah. But the mornings were still hard. The fifth morning after I left Sarah, I woke up disoriented. My phone buzzed nonstop. Brendan's name. I ignored it. Then a text from an unknown number. Unknown. You need to talk to her. She's not okay. I froze, called Brendan. He answered on the second ring. Dennis? What happened? She locked herself in the bathroom. She won't answer. I think she's spiraling. Against my better judgment, I went. Sarah's apartment looked the same, but the air felt thick, stale. Brendan stood in the hallway, his hands shaking. She said she just needed space, but then I heard glass break. I knocked, nothing. I knocked too. Sarah, it's Dennis. Silence. Please open the door, I said, just so I know you're okay. Still nothing. Brendan grabbed a spare key. I unlocked the door slowly. Sarah was sitting on the floor, her back against the tub. A broken glass lay by the sink. No blood, just wine spilled like it had meant to hurt someone. She looked up. Took you long enough. Are you okay? I'm fine, she snapped. Just tired of everyone pretending to care after they've left. I didn't sit beside her. I stood at the doorway. I came because I was told you weren't okay. She scoffed. Brendan panicked. He thinks tears mean suicide. Do they? I asked softly. She looked away. No. I'm not you. I don't implode quietly. That line hit me harder than I expected. I didn't come here to fight, Sarah. Then leave. But I didn't. I stayed until she stood up, wiped her face, and muttered, I'm not weak, I just didn't think you'd actually leave. You told me to. I didn't think you'd listen, she whispered. I left after that, no long speeches, no dramatic exit, just a quiet goodbye and a nod to Brendan, who looked more confused than ever. Back at Anne's, I collapsed on the couch. She's not okay, I said. And neither are you, Anne replied gently. I nodded. I think I kept hoping she'd chase me, that her silence was just pride, but today, it hit me, she really didn't expect me to walk. And now that you have? I feel sad, not because I want to go back, but because I loved someone who only realized I mattered when I left. Anne sat beside me. That's not your failure. It feels like it. But it's not. That night, I stared at the ceiling for hours. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't numb. I was just grieving. Not for Sarah, but for the version of me who thought love was about endurance. I buried that version of me that night, quietly, without ceremony. And for the first time, I let myself cry. A week passed after the bathroom incident. Sarah hadn't called since, and Brendan hadn't either. I assumed they were trying to stitch themselves back together in private, and I didn't care to be involved. My own routine started to settle. Morning runs, full schedules, therapy once a week, thanks to Anne's persistence, and quiet dinners alone or with Anne. Then the news hit. It wasn't on social media, it wasn't in a group chat, it came through my company's legal department. Clear as day, an alert pinged my inbox. Urgent, proposed conflict of interest, client marketing vendor shift. I opened the file and saw the name, Brendan Carter, Head of Strategy, Haven Digital, Sarah Lynn, Creative Lead, Haven Digital. I stared at it. Haven Digital had just been contracted to run a high-value ad campaign for our firm, a deal worth over $3 million. and Sarah was one of the lead points of contact. I didn't say a word, I just forwarded the message to my CEO with one sentence. I'm recusing myself from this project for personal reasons. Within minutes, my phone rang. It was Charles, my CEO. Dennis, this campaign is huge, we want you leading it. I can't. Because of Sarah? Yes. A pause. You've never let personal matters affect your performance. You sure about this? I'm sure. All right, but just so you know, she didn't mention anything, neither did Brendan. They signed conflict of interest waivers already. Of course they did. Anne noticed I was off that evening. You look like someone just insulted your mother. I passed her my phone with the campaign details. She read it once, then twice, then set the phone down. Unbelievable, she muttered. They knew you'd see this. They don't care, I said flatly. They didn't even try to warn me. Anne leaned forward. Do you think this was deliberate? I think this is the second time they've crossed a line. But the real twist didn't come until 2 days later, when Charles asked me to join a final review meeting for the campaign presentation, just as an observer. I walked into the conference room. Sarah was already there. So was Brendan. Sarah's expression shifted the moment she saw me. Shock first, then composure. Brendan nodded at me politely, as if we were just acquaintances. Charles introduced everyone, then gestured for Sarah to begin. She clicked through slides, speaking with the confidence if someone who'd rehearsed every sentence. She was good, polished, almost too polished. But I wasn't watching the deck, I was watching her. And something felt off. Her voice cracked slightly when she mentioned timelines. She blinked too hard between sentences. Her hands, though neatly folded, gripped the clicker like she was trying not to break it. After the meeting, everyone filtered out, except her. Dennis, she said quietly, stepping closer. I'm not here to talk, I said. Just observing, remember? That's not fair. You walked into my company like this wasn't personal, like it wouldn't sting. Sarah glanced around. I needed this job. Brendan pulled strings, yes, but I didn't ask for that. I've been rebuilding, Dennis. You don't get to rebuild using the debris you left behind. Her eyes narrowed. So what? Am I not allowed to move forward if you're not the one helping me now? No, I said. You're just not allowed to pretend you didn't know this would cut deep. She sighed. I didn't want to see you like this. Then you shouldn't have made the choices you did. I turned to leave, but her next words froze me in place. I didn't choose Brendan. I slowly looked back. You could have fooled me. She stepped closer. I never slept with him, not once. That's not the defense you think it is, Sarah. I'm saying it wasn't like that. We got close, yes, but after you left, I realized it was always you, that I didn't want Brendan. I just wanted someone to pay attention. I was quiet for a moment, then I asked the one question that still lingered. Did you ever love me? Sarah didn't speak right away. When she did, her voice cracked. I think I did. In my own way. But it was selfish. I loved how you loved me, not who you were. That was the truest thing she'd ever said. I walked out of the room. I didn't look back. Later that night, I told Anne everything. She listened without interrupting. Do you still love her? She finally asked. No, I said, but I still remember the version of her I thought I did. Anne looked at me carefully. What are you going to do about the campaign? Let it run, I'm out of it now. Are you sure? I nodded. It's just business now, and I'm no longer part of her story. Anne took my hand. Then maybe it's time you start writing yours. The campaign was set to launch in 2 days. Haven Digital was handling the final production handoff, and Sarah was flying in to present the final creative in front of both executive boards, mine and hers. I wasn't scheduled to attend, but I did. Not to watch her, not to catch her stumble, but because I needed closure I couldn't pretend to find in silence. The boardroom was full when I arrived. Sarah's back was to me as she adjusted the projection screen. Brendan was on the side, reviewing final files. A few heads turned when I entered, but no one said anything. Until Sarah did. She turned slowly, blinked once, then said into the mic, "Well, I guess we're all here now." Charles gave me a look, half amused, half nervous. I nodded back. "Let's proceed," Sarah said, her voice sharp and steady. She was good, I couldn't deny that. Her pitch was compelling, the transitions flawless, the data-backed decisions tight, but her eyes kept flicking to me, not desperately, not in regret, just searching. When she finished, polite applause filled the room. She stepped aside, and the board began their usual back and forth. Then one of the execs turned to me. "Dennis, you've been silent. Thoughts?" Sarah froze. I looked at her for a long moment, then stood up. "I have a few." Everyone turned. Brendan straightened. Sarah didn't move. I walked slowly to the front of the room and stopped beside her. "This campaign is strong," I began. "It hits metrics, aligns with our goals, and presents a confident brand message, but I want to speak less about the slides and more about the human piece behind them." A few brows raised. Sarah remained still. "Months ago," I continued, "I stepped away from this campaign because I believed I couldn't lead it objectively. The personal history between Sarah and me blurred lines I thought should stay clean." I turned to her, "But life rarely gives us the luxury of clean lines." Sarah's jaw tightened, but she didn't interrupt. "In the last year, I've learned more about myself than I ever did trying to fix things with someone who didn't want to be fixed, and I don't say that to wound. I say that because I've spent years mistaking endurance for compatibility." Someone in the back shifted uncomfortably. I glanced at the team. You don't have to love someone to admire their work. You don't have to agree with their choices to respect their growth, but you do have to stop pretending pain doesn't follow silence. I turned fully to Sarah now. We spent years talking around things, avoiding hard conversations, pretending loyalty could replace honesty. That ends now. Sarah's lips parted, as if to say something, but I raised my hand gently. "I'm not here to rehash what happened. I'm here to say, this campaign is approved, and you did well. I hope it's the first of many wins for you." A slow silence fell across the room. Brendan cleared his throat. "We appreciate that, Dennis." I looked at him. "Treat her better than I did." Sarah finally spoke. "You treated me better than I deserved." And with that, I sat back down. The meeting ended 10 minutes later. Executives filed out, murmuring about strategies and numbers, but the air around Sarah and me was charged. She approached after most had left. "Why did you come?" she asked. "Because I needed to hear myself say it," I replied. "And now that you did? I'm done." She nodded. "Then let me say something too." I stayed silent. "I was wrong, Dennis. Not just about Brendan, about us. I used your patience as permission. I twisted your kindness into something boring because I couldn't handle how safe you made me feel. I thought love had to be chaos, but you gave me calm, and I confused that for weakness." I exhaled slowly. "That's a lot to admit." She smiled sadly. "Yeah. Took losing you to see it. I hope you don't have to lose more people to keep seeing clearly." She nodded. "I don't expect forgiveness." "Good," I said. "Because you don't need it. What you need is to forgive yourself." I walked away before she could say anything else. Outside the building, Anne was waiting by my car. "How'd it go?" she asked, offering me a coffee. I said what I needed to. She said what she needed to. That's the end of it. Anne studied me. "You okay?" "I think so." She smiled. "Then we're finally free, aren't we?" "Yeah," I said, staring out into the horizon. "Free." Anne tilted her head. "You know, Dennis, I've been here through all of it. Not because I was waiting, but because I saw who you were even when you forgot." "I never forgot you," I said quietly. "Then what are you going to do about it?" I smiled. "Take you to dinner, somewhere without ghosts." She laughed. "Make sure they have wine." We got in the car. For the first time in a long time, the future didn't feel heavy, it felt earned. 6 weeks after that boardroom confrontation, Haven Digital lost the campaign. Not because of me, because of themselves. The creative team missed 2 critical deadlines. Their internal revisions leaked before the official launch. Brendan misrepresented a budget line, and Sarah, in a recorded Zoom call, snapped at a junior exec, calling him irrelevant to big decisions. That clip went viral. I didn't post it, I didn't share it, but someone did, someone who attended that call and wasn't a fan of Sarah's sudden ego. When it reached our legal team, we didn't retaliate, we simply followed protocol. We terminated the contract quietly, no press statements, no social jabs, just a professional disengagement notice delivered to Haven's inbox. By then, my CEO had already approached me with a question. Dennis, want to lead a new in-house division? A chance to build something of my own, no more third-party agencies, no more proximity to exes. I said yes. My first hire, a strategist named Yvonne who'd been publicly berated by Sarah in that same Zoom call. The second? A former Haven designer who resigned when Brendan tried to take credit for her work. In 6 weeks, I had a team of 15. By week 10, we had more wins than Haven's last quarter. I never once spoke Sarah's name again. I didn't need to. But the universe doesn't like quiet victories. It needs an audience. And so, one evening, just as I left the office with Anne by my side, our fingers now quietly intertwined, I saw Sarah standing near the lobby. Alone, no blazer, no smirk, just a plain black coat and tired eyes. I kept walking. She stepped in front of me. Dennis, please. Anne didn't move. She just looked at me once, nodded, and walked ahead, giving us space. Sarah looked down. I lost the campaign. Brendan's been let go. Investors are threatening to pull. I know, I said calmly. She blinked. You knew? I saw it coming the moment you used my name to climb and then tried to cut the rope behind you. Sarah stepped closer. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. You did everything with intention, I said. You just didn't expect consequences. Her lip trembled. Everyone thinks I'm heartless. Are you here for comfort or confession? She hesitated. I don't know. I looked past her. The lights in the lobby reflected off the glass, catching Anne's silhouette. I gave you everything I could, I said softly. You told me to focus on myself, so I did. And now, everything I build, everything I win, comes from Finn. Ally choosing me. Sarah nodded slowly, tears brimming. And Anne? She chose me too, but the difference is, she never made me forget myself in the process. Sarah whispered, I never wanted to be the villain. You weren't the villain, I said, stepping past her. You were the lesson. I walked away. Anne was waiting by the elevator. Closure? She asked. No, I said. Better. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. She saw what I became without her. Anne smiled. Now that, she said, is the real revenge. We rode the elevator up. That night, I kissed her for the first time, no hesitation, no ghosts, just her. Weeks passed, then months. My company soared, my division expanded, the industry started calling me the architect behind the shift. And Sarah? She disappeared from the press. Brendan started a podcast no one listened to. Haven Digital's stock plummeted, their investors pulled out. One morning, I opened an anonymous email, no subject, just a scanned image, Sarah's resignation letter. I closed the tab and smiled. Later that day, I stood beside Anne at our first team gala. She wore navy, a callback to the hoodie I used to borrow. Do you ever think about the past? She asked. I took her hand. Only when it reminds me how far I've come. The lights dimmed, applause began. I stepped on stage to accept a leadership award. Before I spoke, I paused, I looked at Anne, and then said into the mic. They told me to focus on myself. So I did. And the man standing before you now? He doesn't regret a single step.